Texas volleyball displays their excellence on the court yet again.
And maybe Texas football should play in the rain more often. We've got the breakdown on how the Horns ran right through Hurricane Patricia.
All this and much more coming up next on College Press Box.
Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Lauren Barash, and with me at the desk tonight is Mark Skol. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
Lauren, let me tell you something. If I was doing any better, it wouldn't be fair to everybody else.
That is great to hear. Well, we know that Texas football did pretty well in the weather this weekend. How did you stay out of the rainy weather?
Well, I went to the game, so I didn't stay out of it for the most part on Saturday. But then on Sunday, I was just at home watching NFL football, so kept pretty dry there.
Sounds like a good weekend to me. Well, the Longhorns said goodbye to the bye week and headed back to DKR to take on a struggling Kansas State team. Let's take it to a rainy DKR for the highlights. And the Silver Spurs set up a little memorial for Bevo 14 in his corner before the game. First drive of the game here, KSU QB Joe Hubener tries to come up but is slammed by Jason Hall. Hubener would be out after that play and Cody Cook would come in. Cook now at QB, but he just could not gain any yardage. Jefferson and Boyette would slam right into him. It would be 3 and out for Kansas State. Horns' first drive of the game, Gerard Hurd, using his quick legs, rushes 16 yards for the Horns. They would not get a touchdown on that drive, but Nick Rose comes in to help put Texas on the board with a 28-yard field goal. Now we're at the start of the second quarter. Texas ball, running back Deonta Foreman gets through the hole and all the way to the 12-yard line on the Kansas State side with a big gain. And here we go, the man of the day, Tyrone Swoops with his first touchdown, and he'll do it again 6 minutes later. The 18-wheeler runs into the end zone, his second of the day, Texas up 16-0 now. And on the kickoff right after that, Nick Rose attempts a pooch kick towards the sideline. It bounces and lands right in the hands of Kevin Vaccaro. He's pumped up about this. It'll be Texas possession. 32 seconds left in the half. Hubener finds Hurth open in the end zone, making it 16-6 at half. Start of the fourth quarter here, a high snap to punter Michael Dixon, but wait, he somehow recovers and gets the ball down all the way to the 8-yard line. Another scary special teams moment there, but what a save. 4 minutes left in the fourth now. Hubener throws it up, and Dylan Haynes is there to intercept. That's his 7th interception of his career. And Swoops, there it is again, his third of the day. Texas beats the Wildcats 23-9. And our very own Amanda Atwell braved the storm on Saturday to give you more on the Texas victory.
Longhorn fans braved the tropical storm this weekend to watch Texas take on Kansas State. Texas took to the ground, gaining 274 yards on foot against the Wildcats. Gerard Hurd rushed for 61 yards, and Jonathan Gray rushed for 103, a season best for Gray.
We got to find our stickiness somewhere in our arms, so we try to keep our arms dry and really just don't worry about the water. So we get the ball, just hold tight and run forward.
The rain didn't stop, and neither did the 18-wheeler. Tyrone Swoops ran in 3 touchdowns, seeming to find his niche of powering through defenses to gain crucial yards.
There's no reason for you to hang your head. You're still going to be a part of it, and you never know when you're going to show up. And I said it won't only just be in the short yardage package. And he said, "Well, Coach, just give me some more clock." And I said, "Well, I'm going to give you as much clock as I possibly can." But you watch him at the end of that game and him running behind his pads, and he's just so strong and so physical.
Texas battled the wind and the rain to take down Kansas State for their second consecutive win. This puts the Horns at 3-4 on the season and 2-2 in Big 12 conference play. Amanda Atwell, College Press Box.
After After the break, Mark and I will break down Saturday's game with TSTV's own football analyst, Reese Miller. But before we head out, let's see what head coach Charlie Strong had to say about this weekend's game.
It was a good win on Saturday, and after looking at the film yesterday, it was we were sloppy, but we were able to go get the job done. And I told our team we can still improve, we can get so much better.
Thanks for sticking with us on College Press Box. Joining us now is TSTV's college football analyst, Reese Miller. Reese, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's dry, it's warm in here, much better than the hurricane that passed through on Saturday. So, guys, thanks for having me on.
Well, as you said it, Hurricane Patricia graced Austin with its presence this past weekend. It downpoured the entire day on Saturday, but a couple thousand dedicated Longhorn fans showed up at Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium, some wearing burnt orange ponchos, some even sporting floaties and inner tubes. But many said that the stadium was still loud and had a lot of great energy. Reese, what do you make of the crazy climate and the fans who showed up?
Yeah, it was interesting. It's the first real rain game that has happened at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium since 2006. So it was certainly a different atmosphere that these players were used to. Some recruits at the game said that they didn't even think the game was going to get played. But I think that's what Charlie Strong likes. He likes this type of mentality. He said he likes 11 a.m. kickoff games. And really, he always talks about toughness, physical and mental toughness, and that's really what this game was a battle about. And so as far as the fans are concerned, I think that shows a little bit that momentum is building a little bit. They haven't turned the corner, but maybe they're at least headed towards the right direction on the street to turn the corner. And so I think the fans, give them props for sticking it out. I think there were 44,000 was the official number that we got. Even though Texas released 88,000, that was nowhere close. So overall, I think the conditions were interesting. They plagued the passing game a little bit, but as far as Texas' identity and Kansas State's identity, I don't think it changes the game a whole lot because that's what those teams like to do.
Good points there. And Mark, what did you think about the weather?
It was definitely very cold, very wet, and the worst part was when it started getting windy, and that was the worst part of the game for sure. I personally, I think everyone should go to a rainy football game in their life. I'm not saying I want to go to a game in the rain anytime soon after this past game on Saturday. As for the fans who were there, it just shows like there's some actual dedicated fans to the Texas Longhorn fan base, and in my opinion, I thought it was a lot louder in the stadium than it was in previous games. So props to all the fans who showed up on Saturday.
That's what a lot of people had to say, and here's what Coach Strong had to say about the weather on Saturday.
I was just so happy to see the support and know that, now that you come back from Oklahoma where you come in a rainstorm, they come and they show up, and now we go to Iowa State, and our fans will be there. That's not a concern.
And the Texas run game had a huge performance, but the defense had another great performance this past weekend. Normally, in the first 3 games, they were allowing 512 average yards on their opponents, and in conference, they've allowed only 379 average yards. Reese, for you, what did you see change with the Longhorn defense?
Well, against Oklahoma, I think the defensive line really started to excel. You saw Vance Bedford mix up the blitz packages with corners coming off the edge. John Bonney had another sack on Saturday against Kansas State. Let's face it, Kansas State is not an offensive juggernaut. They were on their 4th-string QB, at one point their emergency QB. So while it's excellent to hold a team in bad weather conditions under 9 points, Texas was still victimized a little bit in that passing game. The strength has turned into that run defense. It was horrendous in the 100 rankings after the first 3 and 4 weeks of the season. So give props to Vance Bedford. This defensive line has been the big difference for me, getting constant pressure, filling gaps. The linebackers have been solid, but I think Peter Jenkins has been really the big difference from week 1 to now. People were calling for Anthony Wheeler to start over him. Past couple of weeks, he's had over 15 tackles, leading Texas in that category. And so overall, I think the defense is led by that defensive line. Secondary is still a little suspect. Holden Hill has shored up that secondary a little bit, but safety, you still have issues. You saw Jason Hall step up a little bit. Dylan Haynes had another interception in a big spot to kind of put that game away, but you still have questions going forward.
And Mark, what did you think about the defensive performance?
I agree with Reese on the fact of the defensive line. I think Hassan Ridgeway, he's shown kind of that he has the ability to be like Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle who's drafted. to New England last year. So I think he's really solid. Like he said, Peter Jenkins, he's definitely the leader of that linebacking core. He's probably the leader of that defense, and you saw it on Saturday. He was just pumped up to be there. He's always pumped up on the sideline and on the field. That's what I'm most excited about when watching that defense. And again, I couldn't agree more with Reese about the secondary. The secondary is atrocious. Safety play is not good. We saw Dylan Haynes. I know it was raining and it was wet and cold and hard to catch footballs, but Dylan Haynes had an opportunity to intercept the ball 4 times and he only got one of them. He's got to be able to catch the ball. And also, secondary, Duke Thomas struggled against the Kansas State passing game, and they weren't with their better receivers out there. They don't really have a passing game. They're not known for it. And to show the weakness against a Kansas State team that doesn't have a passing game in the secondary, it just shows that Texas and Coach Strong and Coach Bedford have a lot to work on in the secondary.
Absolutely. Now moving on to Tyrone Swoops, who was recently named by his fellow quarterback Gerard Hurd 18-wheeler. He had all 3 of Texas's touchdowns this past weekend. Reese, what do you make of Tyrone Swoops' performance? And maybe is it possible that the coaches will make a change to his position on the team?
I don't think there's going to be any consideration of a position change. He's really been a guy who's excelled in his role. He's found his role on this team, which really says a lot about a guy who was benched after starting 10 games for Texas, or more than 10 games, last season at the beginning of this season, getting walloped against Notre Dame. And he's come in and been a really nice package for Texas. Leads Texas in total touchdowns with 5 rushing, I believe, 2 passing after last week with Caleb Blewett to put that Oklahoma game away. So I don't think there's any reason to change a position, and especially not change something that's consistently working. Let's face it, the final drive where Texas had 52 yards to go, they said, Tyrone, this is on you. 3 straight running plays with Alex De La Torre to the right. Charlie Strong designed those plays along with Jay Norvell the morning of Saturday's game. So I don't think there's any reason to make a position change. But as far as Tyrone Swoops is concerned, it's really a nice, different element to this offense. And more importantly, it takes away hits from Gerard Hurd. He's not the kind of guy that's going to be shifty, or he's more of a shifty guy rather than kind of the dozer, if you will, plowing right up the middle. So it's definitely a different wrinkle in this Texas offense.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like he's doing more running than the running backs, though, lately. What do you think about Swoops' performance?
Swoops, he's in the perfect role for Texas this year. Last year we saw him throw the ball. He's not really that great of a passer. We've seen that before, and we saw that on Saturday when he tried to throw that pass on 4th down and incomplete. He's in the perfect role. He's able to rush. No one can stop a guy who's 6'4", 250. It's really hard to stop a guy coming full steam ahead. So I like what they're doing with Swoops. I think they just got to keep him in that role. Don't let him pass the ball. Keep him just running it. If they want to switch him to tight end, I wouldn't be opposed to it, just because he's a playmaker. He's big. He can make those plays. He can. You saw how he's carrying defenders against Kansas State. So I think if we want to utilize his ability, we could put him at tight end. But as for now, I think he's just right up in the perfect fit in his role at quarterback.
All right, last question, Reese. Obviously, Texas has been gaining a lot of momentum with these past 2 games. Coming up, they face Iowa State, Kansas, and Baylor. What do you see for the rest of their season, and do you think the Horns can make a bowl game?
I would have told you a couple of weeks ago, absolutely not. But after the performance against Oklahoma, the way this defense progressed, battled through adversity against Kansas State, I think you have to have a real shot. You have to go 3-2 in your final 5 games, so are you going to possibly lose to Texas Tech? Maybe. You can probably chalk Baylor up as Texas will be the heavy underdog going into Waco in late December. But until then, which game are you most worried about? Probably at Iowa State this Saturday night on Halloween. Iowa State 2-5, but they've come really close, 3 points last year, 1 point the year before, to knocking off Texas. Paul Rhodes needs a big victory, and this would exactly do that and help him keep his job. So I think the chances are very, very good right now for Texas, just because they play defense at the level they are right now. Not many other Big 12 offenses can match that. Now, Texas has been so inconsistent throughout the season, it's hard to say, yes, they will make a bowl game, but I certainly think they have an excellent chance. If you had to ask me today, I would probably say they go 3-2 to get to 6-6 and sneak into a bowl game, maybe losing this weekend, West Virginia or Texas Tech. Obviously, you're going to think they beat Kansas, but they're going to lose one of those games, and I think they lose at Baylor, but they do get a bowl game.
Your thoughts on the end of the season?
Well, this game against Iowa State is going to be tough. It's in Ames. Iowa, there's not really much to going on in Iowa except Iowa State and Iowa football, so it's going to be a hostile environment for Texas, so they need to come prepared, need to be ready to be heckled by all these fans. I think they'll pull out the win, though. As for making a bowl game, it's going to be tough just because, I mean, Texas has been so inconsistent. They either get like blown out or they're like really close in all their games. And I didn't think they looked that impressive against Kansas State, to be honest. So I say they'll make a bowl game, just being optimistic, but it could end up not being a great end of the season for the Longhorns.
Thank you so much for joining us, Reese. We appreciate your analysis as always. Coming up after the break, we've got soccer, golf, tennis, and of course, Texas volleyball. All coming up on College Press Box. Welcome back to College Press Box. On Friday, the number 2 ranked Texas volleyball team took on the undefeated 7th ranked Kansas Jayhawks at Gregory Gym in Austin. The Horns handed Kansas their first loss of the season, sweeping the Jayhawks 3-0. Junior Paulina Prieto-Sarame led the Longhorns with 16 kills, setting her career high for both kills and hitting percentage. In the third set, the score was tied 9 times before Texas had an 8-2 run, setting up an 18-12 lead at the first Jayhawk timeout. The Horns only allowed 2 points after that, closing out the set 25-14. The sweep against Kansas makes the Horns 18-1 overall on the season and undefeated in Big 12 play. Texas will be back in action this Wednesday as the team heads to Fort Worth to take on TCU. Our very own Kylie Badgley was at Gregory Gym for the exciting Texas victory.
Friday night, the Longhorn volleyball team beat number 7 Kansas in a 3-game sweep.
Our passing's been getting better and better. I think it's been a key to our offense. Our numbers have been really good, I think.
The Longhorns call a timeout after Kansas goes on a 5-point run early in the game. They return from the timeout and push for a comeback late in the game by stepping up their defense at the net to win the second set. Amy Neal talks about keeping their mentality the same for each game.
For sure, you totally have to take every game at the same mentality and one match at a time. So just looking at every team the same because they're going to come out and play their best game against.
Kansas struggles with serves and other unforced errors. The Horns use this to their advantage and finish strong in the third set with strong hits from Chiaka Bagu and Yasmin Badart.
Tonight, the Longhorns held on to their number 2 ranking against number 7 Kansas and remain undefeated in Big 12 play. The Horns were able to sweep Kansas in 3 games with their impressive offense hitting over 500 in the first match. Coach Jared Elliott and outside hitter Amy Neal feel that tonight's match will help them move on in conference play and do
I think on tips we were talking about seeing the right things, and then just their offense is really fast and they're going to run their middle in transition. So we talked about making sure that we slow the game down and so put a ball high so Chloe can get her feet to it and set a good ball. So
the Longhorns go on the road to play TCU this Wednesday in Fort Worth. This is Kylie Badgley with College Press Box.
On a soggy and humid Friday night at Metcalfe Meyer Stadium, the Texas soccer team took a lead early in the second half on a goal from junior forward Jasmine Hart, but Oklahoma watched as it rallied for a pair of scores to secure a 2-1 victory. The defeat ended both the Longhorns' 3-match winning streak and their season-best 5-match unbeaten streak with 2 ties. On Sunday, the soccer team was defeated by the Baylor Bears 2-1. Texas was trailing the Bears by a pair of goals with time running short, as the ball ricketing around inside the 18 was eventually fed from freshman forward Alexa Adams to Michaela Flores, who promptly moved middle and finished from 8 yards out, scoring her 3rd goal of the season. After both losses this weekend, Texas falls to 7-5-4 on the season.
Last Monday and Tuesday, the Texas women's golf team participated in the Betsy Rawls Longhorn Invitational at the University of Texas Golf Club. The Horns finished the tournament in 4th place after shooting a 3rd round 4 over 292. Junior Julia Beck had her career best finish as a Longhorn. She led the Longhorns with a tournament day low 67 for 5 under par in the final round to claim 4th place. Her 3rd round included 6 birdies and 1 bogey. Sophomore Sophia Schubert also finished in the top 10 after a final round 70 for 2 under par, placing her in a tie for 10th place. And then over the weekends, the Horns headed to Las Vegas to compete in the Las Vegas Collegiate Showdown. The team stands in a tie for 10th place after the first round on Sunday. Sophomore Sophia Schubert had another impressive performance, finishing with a 3-under 69 to start the tournament, including 4 birdies to only 1 bogey. Schubert is in a tie for 18th going into day 2. Junior Julia Beck and senior Tazira Abe also finished the day under par. The two both shot 70s for 2 under par. Beck made 6 birdies while Abe made 4 birdies. The final results will be determined after the last day of the Collegiate Showdown tomorrow.
The Texas men's tennis team traveled to Houston this past weekend to compete in the 2015 ITA Texas Regional Championship. 8 of the 12 Longhorns on the roster took part in the tournament held at the George P. Mitchell Tennis Center. In the singles round of 128, sophomore Adrian Ortiz defeated Texas A&M freshman Sam Giamavlia 6-2 and 7-5. In the next round, UTSA junior Tito Moriez eliminated Ortiz from play as Moriez won 7-6 and 5-7, 1-0. In the singles round of 64, Texas pulled out 5 wins. Senior Michael Reichman edged UT Arlington junior Jonathan Gonzalez 6-4, 4-6, 1-0. Freshman Harrison Scott beat Incarnate Word senior Joseph Smulgen 6-2 6-0. Junior George Goldhoff came out victorious 6-0, 6-3 against Incarnate Word senior Tucker Brown. Freshman Liam Karuna won 6-1, 6-2 against UT Arlington junior Mario Municia. Sophomore John Meade defeated UT Rio Grande Valley junior Juan Cruz Soria 7-6, 5-7, and 1-0. As for women's tennis, Brianna Addison was the lone Longhorn to advance past the round of 32 in this year's ITA Texas Regional Championships. The two-time All-American notched her 4th straight win over Texas A&M's Dominica Gonzalez 6-2, 6-2 on Sunday afternoon to advance to the singles semifinals. Addison saw success with a win over Texas Tech freshman Alexander Valenstein 6-4, 6-1 in the round of 16. The senior also defeated TCU junior Seda Arkenton 6-2, 6-2 on Friday in College Station, and UT El Paso junior Eduardo Nardi dos Santos in straight sets in the round of 64 on Thursday. Addison earned a bye from the round of 128. And that will take us to our last break of the night. Don't go anywhere as we head to Gregory Gym to discuss this year's Texas basketball team. Thanks for sticking with us on College Press Box. So last Wednesday, over 3,000 fans gathered in the Gregory Gym for the first basketball event in that gym in the last 38 years, the Orange and White Scrimmage. The fans got a chance to get an opportunity to get a first look at the Texas basketball team and Shaka Smart's new Wrecking Havoc mentality. So we have the new Wrecking Havoc mentality, and we've got the new young freshmen. So Lauren, what did you take away from this scrimmage?
I actually got a chance to go to the scrimmage, and I had a blast. I really like the energy that Shaka Smart brings to this team. They went before him and the team outside and thanked fans for showing up and took pictures with them. I mean, to me, the most exciting part about this was absolutely the Texas newcomers. Kerwin Roach, Eric Davis Jr., and Shaquille Clear had phenomenal performances. They had the crowd on their feet practically the entire time, so I'm really excited for them. And our very own Katerina Biancardi was also at Gregory Gym to see what fans outside were excited for this upcoming season.
The first ever Texas tip-off will debut the men's basketball team under new head coach Shaka Smart. Let's hear what Longhorn fans have to say about the upcoming season. The Big 12 preseason rankings just came out this week. Where is Texas ranked?
3rd.
I would like to think in the top 5.
Number 1, because we're awesome. 4.
Correct, it is number 4. Now, what are you looking forward to most this basketball season?
A lot of win. Like, is this bad? Like, better than the football season is what I'm hoping for. Is that bad?
End up in the top 2 or 3 of the conference and get into the playoffs.
I'm really excited to see the new fast-paced style of basketball that Coach Smart's going to bring to this program, so I'm excited to see that.
And in terms of success, where do you think this Texas basketball team will finish? Will they make it to the NCAA tournament or the Final Four? Where are they going to finish?
I think it's all up to the players and how they choose to respond to Coach Smart's strategies and the skills that they choose to get from him, and so I see them doing fairly well this season, and I'm really excited to see the results.
I think they're going to make the tournament if they're doing well right now.
I mean, I don't watch basketball.
I think they'll make the tournament. I'm not sure they'll make the Final Four this year, but I think they will with Smart here.
I would like to hope for national champions, so I think we're going to end up there. All right, going bold. I love it. Already in the preseason, these Texas fans are bleeding orange. This has been Katarina Biancardi with College Press Box.
Women's tennis will be finishing up at the ITA Texas Regional Championships tonight. And of course, on Wednesday, volleyball plays TCU at 6:30. You can catch that on Fox Sports Southwest.
And then on Thursday, softball will play St. Mary. And then Friday, volleyball is at it again at Texas Tech at 6 p.m.
And of course, on Saturday, Texas football takes on Iowa State on Halloween, 6 p.m. on Fox Sports Network.
All right, before we go, Mark, let's take one more look at that crazy punt from Michael Dixon on Saturday. Okay, Mark, I don't know about you, but when I saw that snap go high, I thought, here we go again. But then Dixon somehow recovers and makes this miraculous save. Do you think this makes up for some of his special team miscues?
I mean, for the moment it does. He was Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week. That honestly probably was the biggest play of the game. It saved that Longhorns victory. I'm not sure if it makes up for them yet because it's cost a safety against TCU and a game-blowing play against Oklahoma State. Right. So I don't know if I can forgive him just yet, but definitely he saved the game for the Longhorns on Saturday.
Definitely. Sure. And before we head out, two very important questions for you. First, score prediction for the Iowa State game this weekend.
Oh, all right, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say 24-14 Texas.
All right, sounds good. I agree with you. I think that Texas is going to pull out the win on this one. And then my second question, possibly more importantly, what are you being for Halloween this year?
Ooh, well, I've been the same thing for Halloween the past 8 years. I've been a gorilla. I've had a gorilla suit, and it's the only thing that fit on me, and it was an expensive costume, so that's what I'll be on Halloween, a gorilla.
All right, well, look for Mark Skol in a gorilla costume around the Austin area. Thanks for tuning in to College Press Box. That's all the time we have for tonight. You can tune in and catch us every Monday night right here on TSTV at 9:30, and make sure to follow us on Twitter at College Press Box for all the latest and greatest Texas sports news. And if you're looking for some sports debate around the 40 acres, make sure to tune into College Crossfire every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and you can follow them on Twitter as well at College Xfire. For everyone in the studio and Master Control, and for my analyst Mark Skol, and of course Reese Miller, I'm Lauren Barash. Have a good night, everyone. Down south till I die.